Hello and welcome to the second Jack's Throwback Attack Q&A session. Not too long ago, I asked you for your questions about the project, my nostalgic memories, or maybe a little bit about myself, within reason. And you have not disappointed, so you have sent me your questions, so I'm going to answer them right now. So we start off with one from Eddie Barrett on Twitter, who asked, would you consider doing an interview with Andy Spooner, who puppeteered Brum? It was his favourite character. Certainly can try, can add that one to list and send an email off, but can't make any promises. The next one we have is from James Jarrett, who asked on my Facebook page, would you like to have been one of the children who participated in a Zap Daisy Dare sketch, and if so, what was your favourite Daisy Dare sketch? I'd like to say I would like to have taken part in one, but back when I was a child, I was quite camera shy, didn't like being filmed, didn't like having my picture taken, so I imagine back then I probably wouldn't have wanted to, but if it was now, then yeah, sure. Favourite Daisy Dare sketch, difficult one, there were so many of them. I quite liked the one with the giant egg where you had to throw it into an egg cup, and if you missed you got covered in rotten eggs. That was one that stuck with me quite a lot. A lot of the ones where like the floor was covered in gunge, it was all slippery, looked like good fun as well, like the one where you had to make a giant sandwich. So yeah, that's my answer to that one. So next up we have a couple from Hamad Ul Haq. First off, he asked, I was wondering what Christmas programmes do you remember from your childhood and which ones stick with you many years later? I would have to say that the two main ones would be the Art Attack Christmas Crackers. I did have the video of that, and I remember them being shown on CITV as well. And the big Christmas art attacks that they do were really special. And the other one would be the Tots TV Christmas special, which I had on video, which featured them going to Lapland and going sledging. But the bit that I remember the best is there's a bit where Tiny's back at home and he makes a massive paper chain. And for many years afterwards, I would always make paper chains at Christmas. He also asked, what Christmas adverts for toys and games do you remember from your childhood, and which one brings back memories when you watch them? There's so many toy adverts, too many to remember a name off the top of my head. I mean, the Toys R Us adverts stick in my memory quite well, the ones that go, it's a magical place, we're on our way there. I'm not going to sing too much. And ones for Toy Master as well, which I don't think is going anymore, but that was another toy shop which advertised heavily at Christmas. In terms of the toys themselves, I remember really wanting a Mr. Frosty one year, and I got it, and it wasn't very good. And also board games as well, like Mousetrap. I remember having that. Remember getting my Game Boy Color for the first time, and Pokemon Pinball and Pokemon Blue with it. And also I collected a lot of Pokemon cards. So yeah, those are the main memories for me. I could probably think about it for hours and name loads more, but just off the top of my head, those are a few selections. Matthew Bailey asked a similar question actually. Are there any toys or games from the 90s, noughties, which you get particularly nostalgic for? So as I say, Mr. Frosty is one. Another one that I was talking about with a friend recently was a game called Hydro Strike, which was like a pinball game where you battled your opponent, and if you hit your opponent's target, they got squirted with water. I was a big lover of the Crash Bandicoot video games as well growing up, especially Crash Team Racing, and the third game as well, Warped. Big memories there for me. So Nathan's Life has sent me a few questions. First off, asking, where did you get the classic UK Kids TV bloopers clips? There is a video on my channel of bloopers from Kids TV shows, which you can check out, although it is not safe for work. So first off, with that one, I got most of the clips off YouTube, off channels which had uploaded episodes of TV's Naughtiest Blunders and It'll Be Alright on the Night. And one of them came from a video I owned. So that's where those come from. Secondly, are any of your old YouTube channels still around? I think I mentioned at some point that I used to have channels when I was really young, when I was like a teenager. No, they don't exist anymore. And the final question was, how do you transfer VHS tapes to your computer, such as the clips from your mystery VHS extravaganza video? Well, the way I do it is a bit of an old-fashioned way, because I'm not very techie, if I'm honest. I know that you can buy adapters that you can plug your VCR to a computer. My good friend Half Brick VHS has a very elaborate setup which involves a VCR and a time-based corrector, and he's built a computer from scratch, and he spends a lot of time working on the clips and making sure all the colours are correct and stuff like that. I'm a bit more simple. I just have a simple VCR DVD combi that I use, which I bought second-hand a few years ago. Now, some people will argue that that's not the best way to get the quality out of the tapes, which, I do agree with, but I'm just a bit rubbish at that kind of thing. I only own a laptop, so what I do is I convert the VHSs to a DVD and then rip the DVD in the laptop. Bit of an old way of doing it, but that's the way I do it. I mean, I don't do it very often, so that's just my method. So next up on YouTube, I had a question from Marcus Blackwell, who asked, do you have any recordings of Roger and the Rotten Trolls that could be uploaded to YouTube? I ask because since last year, almost every Rotten Trolls video on YouTube has been taken down, and I want to watch a few episodes if I can keep from having sleepless nights. Well, first off, Marcus, very sorry to hear you've been having sleepless nights. So this is going to take a bit of explaining. So I know why the Rotten Trolls episodes disappeared off YouTube, because I got stung by the same takedown, because on my channel I did have 2 videos that featured clips from Roger and the Rotten Trolls. One of them was a video I did years ago called 20 Forgotten CITV Shows, and it featured a 30-second clip from the show. But the main one was a video I did where I looked back on the show, like reviewed it, and spoke about the history of the show, played some of my favourite clips, and explained why it was so fantastic, and also mentioned the fact that it had been recently released on DVD. Both of those videos were taken down at the same time as all of the uploads of the Rotten Trolls, and the takedown notice was by a member of the production company that made Rotten Trolls and also worked on the show. I'm not going to name them. But they weren't like how it is these days, where you just get a video blocked and you can send a dispute, and if they don't respond to the dispute, then the video gets unblocked within a couple of days. This was a full-on copyright strike, which you don't see as much these days, and I got 2 in quick succession, which meant if I had a third one within 90 days, my channel would have been completely closed down and everything on it would have been wiped. Obviously, I do keep backups of the videos, but it would have been very upsetting to start all over again with the YouTube channel. So as you can probably imagine, I don't want to risk that. The copyright strikes have now expired, but I don't want to risk things by uploading more Rotten Trolls. And I also made a decision that the Jack's Throwback Attack channel would not be a place to upload full episodes of shows. It would purely be for the podcasts and my little clip videos and review pieces kind of thing. And if anybody asks why did I not challenge the copyright strikes, they're a lot harder to challenge than just having your video blocked. It's like a full legal process that you have to sign a declaration, and you have to basically say that I own the copyright and this person's wrong. Well, I don't at the end of the day. But I do think it was unfair because it was a review video. I was celebrating the show. I was promoting it because I feel that the show is very underrated. I did email the person who sent the strike to argue my case, but I never heard back. So there we go. But as I mentioned, the show has been released on DVD, so if you want to watch them all, they're freely available to go and buy, which is what I promote in the original review video, because I felt that it was very poorly advertised. I only found out by accident. But yes, all 4 series are available on DVD. It's not the most perfect DVD. Some of the episodes are mistitled, and I think one episode, the sound is out of sync, but it's the most complete version that we're going to get. So if you are a Rotten Trolls fan, go and buy the DVD. It's still available. So next up, I had a question from Reborn Audio, who asked, do you remember the relatively rare Boredom Buster videos from the early 90s? Well, the simple answer to that is no, I don't. Archive Man asked, what series of Zap would you say is the greatest, and which one didn't quite hit the mark for you? So I would have to say, probably in terms of favourite series, I would say Series 7, which was aired in 1998, mainly because this was around the time I was getting into the show. Well, I originally started watching it probably about a year before that. I have very early memories of watching Series 5 and 6, although very vague memories because I was so young. And I do remember the first series being reran, which was in 1997. But Series 7 in 1998 was the main series for me, mainly because my mum actually taped a few episodes of this series for me, and I had that tape for many years. In fact, I've still got it somewhere, and I used to watch it over and over again. I would also say Series 8 is a favourite. I just remember it very well. Even before lots of the episodes appeared online, I still remembered a lot of the episodes all those years later. There's some good episodes there. In terms of the one that wouldn't hit the mark, I was originally going to say the last series, but actually I'm going to be quite controversial and say that I don't think the first series is very good. Now, it was very exciting when episodes appeared online because it's very rare, it wasn't shown much, and of course it's very different in tone, and it had the Tricky Dicky character, but looking at it, it just didn't really hit the mark for me. But a lot of shows don't on their first series. That's why they refine and get better. Zap certainly did as it went along. With the first series, I feel like some of the sketches are quite flat and not a lot is going on. For instance, there was one uploaded not long ago, which was Cuthbert cleaning an office, and it's mostly 3 minutes of him trying to turn off a lamp which is turning itself back on. It's quite repetitive. I think some of the handymen segments as well weren't very interesting. Tricky Dicky was okay, but you can kind of see why they didn't stick with the character. It might have been seen as a bit scary, and they needed the girl character on the show. Daisy Dares suited the messy challenges much better. Also, the darker tone of the first series doesn't really suit, in my opinion. When it changed to the more colourful, zanier version that we know and love, that suited it much better. Next up, Beefy Walton said, what would you have done for CITV's 40th anniversary if you were in charge of the channel? So, CITV turned 40 years old in 2023, and you may remember on the 30th anniversary they did a documentary and did a weekend of classic shows. For the 20th anniversary they did a special morning dedicated to the anniversary and had lots of old characters and presenters in the studio. So if I'd have been in charge, I probably wouldn't have done another documentary, because I think the one that they did 10 years ago was good enough. I would say definitely some reruns of old shows, and I think as well, because more people these days watch stuff online, so maybe some old shows repeated on the channel would have been nice again. But what I probably would have done more to appeal to the older audience is maybe put some stuff available to stream. So whether that be on ITVX or BritBox, whatever it's called now, or on the ITV website, and also share some clips on the social media channels like on Twitter and Facebook, because I've noticed that CBeebies share a lot of clips of their older programmes, and I think that would have been a nice thing to do to get engagement, and maybe compilations of the old idents or old continuity bits would have been nice to post online as well. So I would say that I would have kept it more online based this time around. So that's what I would have done. DonBro1234 asked, what was your earliest movie you recall watching? So I've been trying to think about this one because it's between two. One of them is The Muppets Christmas Carol, because my mum taped that for me off the television on Christmas Day 1997, and I watched it many, many times over. So I suppose that would be the first one, really, because the other one I was thinking about was A Bug's Life. That was the first one I saw in a cinema, but I think that came out in 1998, so I would say it would be The Muppets Christmas Carol, which is also my favourite Christmas film. So next up, Sam Haslam asked, what was it like to talk to the puppeteers behind Rosie and Jim? It was fantastic. It was a real joy to do. Good fun to chat to Robin Stevens, Rebecca Nagan and Neil Brewer all together. I didn't have to do much. I just kind of sat back and let them tell the stories, and you could see that they were still good friends all these years later, which was really nice. And the way that we had to organise it was have a group chat. So it's kind of cool to be in a group chat with Rosie and Jim and Tootle. I feel very honoured. It was recorded on a Saturday afternoon, and it was just an enjoyable time, really enjoyable. One of my favourite interviews. And finally on this Q&A, Ben Gray asked, did you go to see any stage shows of any children's TV shows? So when I was a child, I have to admit, no, I didn't. The closest thing I ever went to see along those lines was I went to see pantomime of Goldilocks and the Three Bears when I was about 8 years old at Wolverhampton Grand Theatre. And the reason why I went, or why my mum took me, is because Sooty was there as well as Richard Cadell in the play. But when I was a lot older, in fact 20 years old, I did go and see the Chuckle Brothers live on stage. A friend of mine bought the tickets for my 20th birthday, and we went to go and see him at Leamington Spa, and then we got to have a photo with them afterwards and have our programme signed. And what else was nice is afterwards, we got to meet the Patton brothers, Jimmy and Brian, who were their brothers, who played the other characters in the show. So that was really nice, and it turned out to be their final live stage tour actually, so I'm very lucky to have gone and seen that. So that's the closest thing really. So that's the end of this Q&A video. Thank you for your questions and thank you for watching. From me, Jack Hayward, I'll see you soon.